But first, just a few days ago, it was the capital in Ukraine, Kiev, that was the scene of the power struggle and the confrontation. But now the location of the crisis appears to have changed. Gunmen have taken over government buildings in Crimea and raised the Russian flag. And that's prompted a series of warnings to Russia not to take any military action. Dozens of armed men have taken control of buildings in Simferepol. So far, they haven't issued any demands, and Russia has criticized Ukraine for failing to control the group. So, why is Crimea proving to be such a headache? It's had a difficult history with Ukraine since they both left the Soviet Union. It declared itself an independent republic in the mid-90s, led by President Yuri Meshkov, but was brought back into the fold by Ukraine in 1995. More than 50% of the population there is ethnic Russian. It's also where the Russian Navy holds its Black Sea fleet and nuclear submarines as well. In a moment, we'll be going live to Rory Challenge. Rory's in Moscow. First, let's go to Robin Forestier-Walker, who's in Simferepol in Crimea, where gunmen have taken over those buildings. So, Robin, bring us up to date with what's happening there.
Well, we understand that those men are still holding those buildings. They're still inside. And at the same time, we've been hearing about how the Parliament deputies themselves are going to be discussing a referendum, tabling, holding a referendum in Crimea to decide on Crimea's future. That's all very worrying as far as the ethnic Tatar community here are concerned, who came out overwhelmingly yesterday to show their support for the new powers that are forming a government in Kiev. I should add that they weren't on their own. There are others here who support the Kiev government, but largely there is a pro-Russian majority in the south who are very concerned about what's been going on, and they have come out today. Organised political groups, it seems, have come out on the square behind me up by the Parliament to show their support for the guys that are armed and holding out inside the Parliament building and inside the Council of Ministers building, just a short walk away as well.
When I was in Crimea just a few years ago, I heard very loud noises pointing towards Russia nationalist calls. How strong, how would you describe the calls for some kind of separation now in the light of what's happened in Kiev?
It's very difficult to know just how much popular support these people have. I've seen them out on the street behind me, as I was saying. They have their Russian flags, they're different political factions. There's a group calling itself Russian Unity. Well, you can interpret from that what you will. I mean, to me, it comes across very much as a pro-Russian group. They were talking about their demands earlier. They would either like to rejoin Russia, which Crimea was traditionally a part of, or they would like to see some form of greater autonomy. In any case, they want to make it clear that they do not recognize this new government that has been forming in Kiev. They really think of them as bandits. They call them fascists, nationalists. That is certainly a very strong feeling that you get from the guys out here. But honestly, in terms of large numbers of popular support coming out today spontaneously, I don't see it. It's a grim day, it's cold, it's wet, it's snowing. Yesterday, many more, I would say, came out from the ethnic Tatar population. As I said, not exclusively ethnic Tatar, but mainly from that group, and they are well organized, they are cohesive, they talk to each other, and they were out in large numbers to show their support for the new government forming in Kiev. And it's very dangerous when you throw into the mix the fact that Russian armored personnel carriers have been sighted not far from this regional capital. We understand that they may have gone back to their bases, but it all adds up, ratchets up that tension in terms of where we are now heading for Ukraine and in particular for Crimea.
Robin Forestier-Walker in Simferepol. Thank you, Robin.